Breaking news out of the NFL, the New York Giants are not using their franchise tag on star running back Saquon Barkley. That's the latest from our NFL insider, Josina Anderson. While it's not an unexpected decision, it means that Barkley is likely to hit the market as a free agent next week. Since getting drafted second overall in 2018, he won Offensive Rookie of the Year, made 2 Pro Bowls, and rushed for over 1,000 yards 3 times. When you think about the running back market at this point, Saquon Barkley's stats certainly could intrigue a few players, or a few teams rather, as you take a look at what he was able to get done during the 2023 season. Over 1,200 yards from scrimmage, 962, of course, on the ground. And then, of course, he had 10 scrimmage touchdowns as well. Certainly will be an impact player somewhere in the NFL. Let's welcome in our NFL lead insider, Jonathan Jones. JJ, it's been a busy morning, as we alluded to before, but we'll start with Saquon Barkley in regards to not receiving the franchise tag. Really no surprise here when it comes to that decision?
No, none at all. Not at all. He was never getting tagged again by the New York Giants, and we're going to talk a little bit later about Xavier McKenna, who he could be transition tagged. The team only has 1 tag, and it was clear that if they were ever going to use the tag, it would be on Xavier McKenna and not on Saquon Barkley, who the number of the franchise tag is a number that Saquon won't get on the open market. So that has been clear for weeks that was not going to take place, and so it is not. He is now going to be able to test the market, a running back market, Haley, that frankly is going to be worse than it was last year and worse than the year before that. And so I don't know what he's going to be able to fetch out there. He could very well be the highest paid free agent running back in this class that will include Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs. But then he also may return to New York. Something that you're going to hear me say an awful lot here in the next week is that no one is going to value you as a player usually more than your current team. Mike Evans, for example, got a better deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers than he probably would have gotten elsewhere. Saquon Barkley, he's going to go out there, test the market. I won't at all be surprised if he is back with the New York Giants after seeing what the running back market truly is like. But for the first time in his career, he's now certain to be a free agent and can indeed test that market.
So no franchise for Saquon Barkley, but the Panthers, however, are using that franchise tag on linebacker Brian Burns. 8 sacks on the season, a couple pass deflections as well. Is this a good move in your mind to keep him around for at least another season?
It's the only move that they could make after turning down the incredible trade offer from the LA Rams 2 seasons ago that included 2 first-round picks and then some. The Panthers identified him as a franchise cornerstone. That was a bad decision, and not that they identified him as a franchise pillar, but that they didn't take the trade offer when it was on the table a year and a half ago. That trade offer is never, ever going to come back. And then they believed that they could get a long-term deal done with him, but of course, with Nick Bosa out there getting more than $30 million per year, they couldn't get to that number. So I know that there was a deal on the table last year for around $27 million in average annual value. That is not enough for Brian Burns and his side, and so now he's tagged at $24 million, and I wouldn't be surprised if there is a tag and trade situation here, because after 2 years of not being able to get a deal done, I don't know that the Panthers feel uber confident that they will get a deal done at this point. So things could change, tunes could change certainly, but look, he's not going to be tagged and then a team signs into a long-term deal the Panthers don't match, and so then they get 2 first-round picks. That's not what I'm talking about with a tag and trade. What I'm saying is tag him, and then he's able to speak with other teams about a deal that they would be willing to give him, and then the Panthers would get some form of compensation that would be at least a first-round pick, but the 2 first-round picks for a franchise tag or what was on the table a year and a half ago is not going to be coming back.
All right, so we've got 2 guys who we've sort of figured out their fate. Let's play a little game here as we move forward called tag or no tag. JJ, I'm going to give you a player, and you tell us if there's a need to use that tag. We're going to start in Tampa, where the Bucs have a choice to make regarding Antoine Winfield Jr. We know they've already worked out a deal, as you mentioned earlier, with their top offensive target in Mike Evans. So how do they now approach a key component of their defense? Do they tag or no tag?
Well, they certainly want to keep Antoine Winfield Jr. and so short of getting a deal done by the 4 p.m. Eastern deadline on Tuesday, they will be tagging him. And like the safety market is sort of like the defensive running back market. You really only pay just a couple of them, and the rest, because of the way that the game is played today, you just don't have that great positional value monetarily on that position. Antoine Winfield Jr. is different. So if he were to ever hit the open market, he would be one of the highest paid safeties in the league, touching $20 million in average annual value. So whether he gets that deal from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers by 4 p.m. or after 4 p.m., the Bucs want him there. And so if they cannot get a deal done, they don't have any problem with tagging him and using that as a placeholder to work out a deal by the mid-July deadline, and hopefully for them getting a deal done well before that.
6 sacks, 6 forced fumbles, and 4 interceptions as a safety. They got to get something done with that man. Meanwhile, over in Indianapolis, Michael Pittman Jr., the top target for that tag. Over 1,100 yards this season. JJ had 4 touchdowns to show for it. Really the only pass-catching threat on that roster as it stands. So, JJ, same question, tag or no tag for Michael Pittman Jr.?
You certainly tag him, and you tag him because this isn't a great free agent market in terms of wide receivers. Look, Mike Evans was very likely not really going to test free agency, despite what his agent had said in Indianapolis. The Cincinnati Bengals have tagged T. Higgins, could potentially trade him somewhere. That's to be determined. Michael Pittman Jr. would then become the best free agent out there on the market, and I don't believe that the Colts are going to let that happen. You note how important he was in the passing offense this past season. Certainly in a draft filled with great young wide receivers, the Colts will be able to add to that group. But I don't see Michael Pittman Jr. becoming a free agent. The Colts need to spend a little money anyway, and so that tag of around $21 million, go ahead and slap it on Michael Pittman Jr.
Yeah, Anthony Richardson coming back. Give him a good option to throw to in 2024. All right, JJ, so we talk a lot about the franchise tag this time of year, but as you mentioned earlier, teams can also use a transitional tag. Basically, Spark notes here, it allows teams to retain unrestricted free agents, guaranteeing first right of refusal, and has to be used in place of that franchise tag. You mentioned it earlier, Giants safety Xavier McKenna on the list of guys who could get that transitional tag. In your opinion, what makes that the right fit for New York, especially with them foregoing the franchise tag on Saquon Barkley?
Well, and look, you don't need to use the franchise tag on Xavier McKenna because, as we talked about earlier, with the safety position in the NFL, there's a bit of a devaluation of that safety position. And so what you can do is essentially put this transition tag of about $13 million on Xavier McKenna. That's a good number compared to what the market probably would be if he were to go out there and test it, or if you were to get him a long-term deal. And so why you do it is, or at least what the fear of doing it is, a team could sign him to an offer sheet, and then if you don't match, they would get him and you would receive zero compensation. The thing and sort of the dance here is a team actually going to do a deal with Xavier McKenna that you, the Giants, wouldn't do? Is it going to be so far out of whack in the market that it would force you to be unable to match that? And then you say, well, he has to go. So that's why the Giants, there's a little uncomfortability, but that is why you would use it here at that position in particular in today's NFL. Again, could very well get a deal done before 4 p.m., but if that does not happen, I will not at all be surprised to see Xavier McKenna being the one who's tagged, just not franchise tagged, but transition tagged.
Transition tagged. Got to know the lingo. All right, JJ, last one I got for you. We're switching gears to the Bears. Most of the conversation in Chicago has been about their quarterback debacle, but they've also got Jaylen Johnson sort of waiting in the wings to figure out his future with the team. He's one of those players who is a franchise tag candidate, but is this the one player on this list that we can see a deal getting done with a long-term deal in the future? Do you think the Bears got that working out?
Yeah, they certainly are. I spoke with General Manager Ryan Poles on our set in Indianapolis last week, and he told me that there's a deal that's out there. That's a really good deal for Jaylen Johnson and for the Chicago Bears that will make him one of the highest paid corners in the league, that will set him up and his family up with generational wealth, Ryan Poles said. So that's out there. The Bears have been working on it. They did not want to trade him at the trade deadline, even though they were getting a lot of calls for him. They wanted to keep him. They wanted to get this figured out. And so there's a deal in place that will keep him there for the long term. I don't know that he's going to ultimately sign that deal before 4 p.m. because, look, it could give him a little bit more leverage if he waits. But the fact of the matter is the Bears are flush with cap space, so they can tag him and use that as a placeholder and still do everything in free agency that they want to do next week and not lose a wink of sleep. So he really doesn't get any more leverage if he waits. If this is the best deal that the Bears are ultimately going to offer, he can go there and sign it now and become quite a rich man. So we'll see if that gets done, but there is no suspense in that Jaylen Johnson is not going to hit the market. By 4 p.m. today, it will be confirmed that he will be a Chicago Bear, at least for 2024. And the Bears hope, of course, that he's going to be there for a very long time.
A lot of decisions, as we just talked through, for these teams to make by 4 p.m. Eastern. That's when that franchise tag deadline hits. Jonathan Jones bringing us the latest. We always appreciate you, JJ. Thanks so much for your time. Hey, guys, the NFL draft right around the corner. Stay up to date with the latest news regarding the NFL by tapping into the Pick 6 podcast. You can scan that QR code on your screen, or you can listen in wherever you get your pods.